Hey guys, it's Nakai Did It, and I am back with another video of this closure install with custom color. Get into all this hair that my client has. For starters, I usually part it down the center and make sure that the part is even so it matches with the closure, and then put it into two sections. Once the hair is parted into two sections, I then begin to braid the braids going down. It is easier if you make the braids as small as you can, especially if your client has thick hair like mine. So here I am going to begin to braid. I believe my video cut out here, so it's probably going to skip over to where I already began to braid the braids down, and I got kind of halfway through the left side. Next is a time-lapse video of how I braid the hair down. I feel like braids are pretty self-explanatory. I braid the hair down and then I bring the braid that I just braided up into the next braid. I do this technique so that I can minimize the amount of thread that I put within the hair, also to keep my foundation nice and flat. So once I get to the last braid, I'm going to braid it down, and then I'm going to bring it up and tuck it through the loops of the braids I already braided up, and then I'm going to use some string and just sew any additional braid that's left out. Now this is the finished product of my foundation. Here I'm going to go ahead and massage my client's scalp with some Design Essential tension oil, and then I am going to use some 91% alcohol and degrease her forehead. After that, this is some goop glue, where I usually slick back the hairs before I wipe off the forehead one more time with the alcohol, so that when I put this cap on, the forehead is nice and grease free. We are going to use some 91% alcohol and wipe off the forehead one more time before I use some scalp protectant to put over the cap, so that when I use the glue, it doesn't do anything to my client's forehead. And also, you do put the glue in front of the hairline, you do not put it on the hairline. And then after that, you go ahead and you take some string and you sew around where your closure is going to be, so that you have your ball cap only where it's necessary. Once my ball cap is down, it then should look like this. Next, I'm going to take a weaving net and I'm going to put this on my client's head. I do use this with all my sew-ins. It just keeps the braids nice and neat. In the case that my clients get touch-ups, they do wash their hair prior to coming to me, so it keeps everything nice and in place. And I just prefer nets. I feel like it's better for the hair, if you ask me. Once the net is on, I do sew around the perimeter. I do not knot my stitch when I sew around the perimeter, just so it's easier to take out, but I do knot it to where when I cut around the ball cap area, it does not come off. Then next, I'm going to take my scissors and cut the excess cap off of the ball cap, and then it should look like this. And as you can see, the glue is before the hairline. Next, I'm going to go ahead and begin to put down my glue and allow it to dry as I am working with the band. I do put my closures down with the band, and I do use the glue by Erica J. I love this glue. It's amazing. It dries very fast. Then once my third layer of glue has dried, I then put the closure down and begin to sew around the perimeter of it. While the glue is adhering to the front, I am going to begin to sew the back of my sew-in. I do double the tracks for the first two bundles just to make sure I get all the bundles in there, and then I'm going to begin to single the tracks at the top. I do knot every stitch as well when I sew. When it comes to sewing, I actually do not cut the wefts. I prefer not to cut the wefts due to it causing a lot of shedding. So I do sew and I flip the track over, so I minimize cutting. The only time that I cut the weft is once I get toward the top, just so that it's nice and flat. And now from here, this is just a time-lapse video of me sewing in the rest of the tracks. Here I'm going to go in and I'm going to blow dry the hair just to make sure that it's nice and dry. I did actually go in for a second time and dip this hair to make it a little bit darker for my client's satisfaction. So here I ended up taking off the band just to see how the lace looks, and of course it looks melted, but I'm actually going to put some mousse onto the lace and wrap it back down just to melt it a little bit more. Next I'm going to go in with my barrel curler and some heat protectant and give her some nice curls. And then I don't really have any instructions for curling because honestly I'm self-taught. So as you can see, I just wrap the hair around it, twirl it a little bit, drop it, blow it, and boom, it's a curl. And here is the finished product of the curls before I use a wide tooth comb and comb it out. And yes, get into it. Now the moment of truth when we remove the band and see how melted the lace is. Now once the band is removed, I'm going to go in with some Nairobi mousse and make sure that the edges are not crunchy. You know, sometimes when you use certain edge controls, it makes the edges crunchy, and we don't want no crunchy edges. Now here I'm going to go in with a regular comb and brush out the top just to flatten it a bit before I take my wide tooth comb and begin to detangle the curls. As you can see here, I do use a wide tooth comb. Sometimes I spray my heat protectant onto the comb just so that when I brush through the hair it glides through. And again, the wide tooth comb is just supposed to break the curls apart and still keep the definition. And this is the moment that my client realized it is a look. Get into it. This color is everything. I love it on her skin tone. I love everything about this color. If you guys enjoyed this video and you would like more, please let me know. Comment below, like, share, subscribe, and I will be back with another video.